every once in a while something happens in sports and you're like, what the hell is this going to mean? And it may mean nothing. Maybe something. Could be tip of the iceberg. It could mean absolutely nothing. It could be a positive, could be a negative. But the ramifications scare me a little bit. And that is the story this morning that Tony Clark is resigning as the executive director of Major League Baseball's Player Association. Now, the first thought on this is who really cares, right? I mean, it's not like the Players Association is a team that we're all rooting for, although I guess some of you are. Whenever labor talks come up, some people call up and want to make sure that the players get everything that they deserve, and that's fair. But I didn't know about this Eastern District of New York investigation to alleged financial improprieties by the union.
Well, apparently it's combined with other groups too.
Okay.
I'm just trying to look through this. It says
this is a breaking. This story is being unveiled as we speak.
It says the MLBPA remains under federal investigation due to its role in One Team Partners, a licensing company co-owned with the NFLPA and 3 other sports unions.
All that. Okay. So how does this matter to the fan? Here's how it should matter to the fan, and here's why I'm curious. Is Tony Clark was essentially like the chief negotiator for the players when it came to work stoppage. And all we care about is no work stoppage. I shouldn't say all. That's over-exaggeration. I apologize.
It's a big part of it.
But I mean, ultimately, we don't want a work stoppage. Signed everybody. Now, maybe you care what the players get, or maybe you care so much about baseball you think it needs a hard salary cap because of what's happened with the Dodgers and the sweetheart deal they have with the league that doesn't get talked about enough. We're doing our part. Those things need to be reeled in, but we don't want a work stoppage. And with uncertainty at the union, I don't know how this. It could be the greatest thing that ever happened, and that some awesome negotiator is going to come in and sit down with Major League Baseball and say, "My first day is Thursday, and we are at the table Friday morning at 9 a.m." Right? That's the kind of guy we want. We want somebody who says, and we will sit at the table. I always want negotiators that say, if you got nothing to say and I got nothing to say, I'll still be in the room at 9 a.m. I'll sit there till 5 p.m. And if we have nothing to say, we'll sit there in an empty room. Because tell me what's wrong with this. If you are negotiating for Major League Baseball and you're the owners and the Players Association, you should be forced to sit in a room dead silent until you start talking. Because these things always get worked out. But when they're not even at the table, there's no chance they're going to get worked out. And when we get long work stoppages, it's frustrating as hell. So whoever replaces Tony Clark, I want them to be a person that's proposing, we are at the table, 9 a.m. tomorrow. And we invite you to come sit with us.
I wonder how long this process is going to take.
Well, that's the thing.
So I mean, part of me, when it comes to negotiations, I would love to be part of negotiations and yell at both sides to get something done and try to be productive about it, and understand that everybody's going to be working towards the middle of something, but find out exactly what the big hangups are going to be and how do you work through, how do you problem solve. I actually enjoy kind of problem solving type stuff, but the last time this happened was it 2021? It just seemed like Major League Baseball didn't care. They weren't willing to negotiate, or at least that's the way it was presented. And nothing got done until like March. Mm-hmm. And they were able to get the full season in, but still it was threatened because of stupidity. And the stupidity was, we're just going to put off the negotiations. And, that was a negotiating ploy. And I hate that. That's not a ploy. Get it done.
When we start hearing rumblings from people in the league about the end of a collective bargaining agreement, and a year plus out, they're telling us how ugly it's going to get.
Yeah.
I don't want a world where we just go, oh, okay. Okay, well, I guess we need to prepare for an ugly labor stoppage. I want a world where that cranks up the intensity now so it doesn't get ugly, because they will come to an agreement, but I feel like a foreshadowed lengthy work stoppage has been going on for 6 months.
Yeah, nobody wants it. And it's, I think to all of us, it seems pretty obvious that they're going to have to do something with a salary cap of some kind. And I recognize that, there are people that don't want that to happen. But for the betterment of the league, you're going to have to do something with that. It's inevitable. And if it's inevitable, then start working on it now.
I know.
Right? Okay, some people don't want the cap. Okay, well, you got to have a basement. You got to start with a floor. And there are going to be a handful of teams that don't want the floor. Well, if you open up the books and see how much money is being made, those teams that don't want the floor are making money still. So there's a point of reason. I guess you have to start and end. There has to be something there, and then you eventually squeeze it together. But I think that's what's going to happen with the next agreement. You have to have the floor, and you have to have a ceiling, and you have to have punishment for going over the cap. Yeah, right? Because that's
they have that now.
But I'm saying you're going to have to maybe lower that threshold so you start paying it at $200 million on a payroll instead of 250, whatever the number is.
Well, if it means that the bad teams have to spend more or they get fined, you may as well spend the money on players. And if they're going to get fined for coming in short of a salary floor. But as it stands right now, I don't know what this Tony Clark story is going to amount to. There is a chance that this investigation could weaken the labor union, I suppose, and the players' side of it might not have as much ground to stand on. And hence the owners could run roughshod over them. Or there's a chance it's going to bring in a real forward-thinking executive director of the Players Association that will insist that we do not have a work stoppage. I don't know if that's even possible, but that's what I'm rooting for. Because I can't stand this stuff. I cannot.
Oh, I hate it.
And everybody says the same thing. Millionaires fighting with billionaires. And yeah, it is.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's as a sports fan, I don't know if there's anything more unsightly than that gets us upset more than that. You took our games away because you guys can't split this quadrillion-dollar pie that you got. I mean, there's no sympathy. There's no upside. I mean, I guess the possible upside here is if there is some sort of more equitable system that comes out on the far side of it. But
yeah, I mean, if they can somehow come up, we reference all the time the NHL plan.
NHL's awesome.
Directly tied to revenues. Everything's transparent. Everybody knows what's going on and work from there. Here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see a system like the NFL where you have no idea what your payroll is because it fluctuates and you can manipulate the cap and all that stuff. I don't want to see any of that. And there's already some of that with baseball with voidable years and deferred money and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'd like it to get closer to what an actual cap is, like the NHL. That would be nice.
Yep.
Not just for our sake for talking about it so everybody can understand, but it just makes more sense.
So again, I mean, this is kind of a weird thing on a Tuesday. It just broke right before our show. Why on Tuesday and on Fat Tuesday in February are we talking about this work stoppage? Because
I mean, of all days, Fat Tuesday.
Yeah, right. Tony Clark has stepped down as has resigned leading the MLB's Players Association, and it feels like it might have something to do with his investigation. I can't say that I know that, and I guess we'll find out over time, but sometimes sudden resignations do seem to draw a straight line to some behind-the-scenes scandal. But speaking of things done right in sports, and we live in a kind of a wine society. People whine about stuff all the time, and I found that with this job, it doesn't do any good to whine without having a potential solution. So because what good does it do to bitch about something? Learn what you can and find out if there is a potential solution. I give the NBA a ton of credit for their All-Star game format. Guys played.
Yeah, I talked a lot about it yesterday that, the weekend was whatever. The Friday night, I watched part of the celebrity game. I wanted to see Matt Ishbia. I wanted to see Shams Charania. I wanted to see what those guys were able to put forth. And the game was okay. I thought it was interesting the influence that Steph Curry continues to have on people when you've got, B or C-list celebrities are launching three-point shots and knocking them down, by the way. Yep. It's like, okay, here we go. The dunk contest wasn't anything special. That didn't pay much attention to anything else. But the games, the format they had, the round-robin tournament with 3 teams, 2 United States teams and 1 world team, was actually pretty cool. And I'm glad that the team, the J.B. Bickerstaff coach team with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Dern was in the first game because they set the tone with, okay, it's going to be defensive-oriented. Or at least we're going to try to play some defense. And then they had Wembanyama on the other team, and he was taking it seriously too. And so the other thing is that the Cade Cunningham team was the younger of the 2 American teams. So they're not as jaded by it for being around the league forever and the game sucks always.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't the case. It was actually competitive basketball. In the first 3 games were very competitive. One of them went to overtime. The first one went to overtime. The championship game wasn't very competitive because the other American team just ran out of firepower. They couldn't knock down any shots. Well, the other team did. Mm-hmm. So it became a blowout finish. But I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the greatest thing in the world, but I did enjoy it, and I thought it was a big step forward for the NBA, and I think the format is something that should be continued.
Kang, you loved it.
Yeah, it was because it was the first time forever that they tried, and everyone comes up with different formats, but it all comes down to the players, if they try or not. And if they try, it wouldn't matter if it was East versus West, America versus the world, whatever. As long as they were trying, then it matters. So the round robin format, I like that, but it wouldn't have mattered if they didn't try, Doug. And why they tried was honestly was Wemby. Wemby tried last year, and this year he came out and he tried again, and which basically forced the hand of the other team to try. And then the third team in the back who was practicing warming up, they were interviewing Jaylen Brown. They were watching, and they said, "Hey, how are you guys going to take this?" And Jaylen Brown was like, "Well, we're going to take cue from the first game and see how they're playing." And basically they were playing hard, so that third team had to come in and play hard. And it's not like they were going all out, but they tried. Kate Cunningham picked up full court. No one ever picks up full court. And it's not like he was just pressing, but he was on his guy as soon as he got the ball. And things like that, setting the tone, it just made it a lot more fun. And guess what? Knock on wood, but no one got hurt. You could play basketball competitively and not get hurt. People acted like if they tried, you were for sure going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And it was just fun to watch some competition with the best in the world. That's all people wanted.
It's just cool when a league gets something right. And in a world that there's a lot of bitching, bravo to the NBA, to Wembanyama, who probably was the real MVP for his level of care that seemed to spark interest in everybody. But really, really cool to see something like that get pulled off. Okay, there is a list of top NFL free agents matched up with their best fit. And the Lions, get some mention with a name. It's pretty big. We'll get to that today at 10:35 on 97.1.